Good evening, I'm T Summit, and welcome to Summit Recap. Each night we bring you flashes of the world's biggest headlines, but every Friday we slow it down to connect the dots, uncover the shifts, and give you the clearest view from the top. Here's what shaped your world this week. Our top story this week, Kashmir, where the deadliest attack in years claimed the lives of at least 26 civilians, most of them tourists and pilgrims. Gunmen ambushed a bus near Pahalgam as a popular route for Hindu temple visitors. The attackers sprayed the vehicle with bullets, causing the driver to lose control and crash into a gorge. Victims include women, children, and elderly passengers. Dozens more were injured. India's Home Ministry has blamed Pakistan-based militants, renewing accusations against Lashkar-e-Taiba, an extremist group with a long, violent history in the region. Pakistan has denied involvement, but Indian security forces have escalated patrols along the line of control. This wasn't a battlefield. It was a tourist corridor, a spiritual journey, and now it's become a flashpoint in a decades-old conflict. With elections approaching in both countries, tensions are rising and diplomacy is fading. Back here in the U.S., a wildfire tore through 15,000 acres of forest in Ocean County, New Jersey this week, forcing mass evacuations and shrouding entire towns in smoke. Authorities now say it was no accident. Police have arrested 19-year-old Joseph Kling, a resident of Ocean Township, and charged him with aggravated arson and arson. Investigators say Kling set wood pallets on fire near Jones Road and then walked away without checking if the flames were out. Within hours, shifting winds had turned it into one of the largest wildfires in New Jersey's recent history. No fatalities were reported, but homes were threatened, wildlife habitats destroyed, and emergency resources were stretched thin. Local officials are calling it a completely preventable disaster. Kling is being held without bail in Ocean County Jail. A court appearance is expected next week. In Cairo this week, fragile diplomacy returned to the table. Egypt and Qatar are mediating peace talks between Israel and Hamas, aiming for a temporary ceasefire and large-scale hostage release deal. According to U.S. officials, this is the closest both sides have been to an agreement since February. Hamas is reportedly offering to release 30 Israeli hostages in exchange for a short-term ceasefire and hundreds of Palestinian detainees. Israel's cabinet remains divided, but sources say they're closer than ever. Meanwhile, violence continues. Israeli airstrikes hit targets in Rafah, and rocket sirens sounded in Israeli towns near the border. Humanitarian agencies warn, without a deal, Gaza's food, fuel, and medicine supplies could collapse within days. The world is watching again, and once more, the outcome is uncertain. At the Vatican, the world is preparing to say goodbye to Pope Francis. The 88-year-old pontiff passed away on Easter Monday after suffering a stroke and cardiac arrest at his residence. He now lies in state at St. Peter's Basilica as mourners from around the world pass silently by. His funeral is set for Saturday at 10 a.m. local time in St. Peter's Square. It will be led by Cardinal Pietro Parolin and attended by over 40 heads of state, including former Vice President Kamala Harris and France's President Macron, and representatives from every major world faith. Francis was the first Jesuit pope and the first from Latin America. He championed climate action, refugee protection, and humility in leadership, often walking alone without a motorcade. This weekend, the bells of Rome will ring, and across the world, billions will reflect on the legacy he leaves behind. Back in the US, Wall Street stayed steady this week. The Dow closed flat while the S&P and Nasdaq edged down slightly. Mostly quiet moves in a week filled with noise. But what has investors watching closely is what's coming next. Federal Reserve Vice Chair Philip Jefferson hinted this week that another interest rate hike could land as early as June if inflation doesn't ease. The Fed's language has shifted. It's gone from caution to calculation. If job numbers stay strong and prices hold firm, we could see borrowing costs rise again, impacting everything from credit cards to housing to corporate debt. 5 stories, one world, all seen from the top. I'm T Summit, and this was your Summit Recap. We're here every evening with 60-second flashes, and every Friday we step back to see the whole picture. Subscribe if you haven't, share if it helped, and as always, stay informed, stay curious, stay sharp. We'll see you tomorrow for Summit Outlook.